Ukraine has successfully developed and launched into production a ballistic missile called Sapsan, which will be difficult for the Russian military to shoot down, Ukrainian military analyst Andrey Kramarov said. He emphasized that the Ukrainian Sapsan missile is practically an analogue of the Russian Iskander-M missile. The technological development was stolen from us at some point, and in 2014 the Iskander-M entered service with the Russians, but we unfortunately still did not have an operational tactical missile complex, a ballistic missile. The expert drew attention to the fact that the Russians will not be able to shoot down the Sapsan missile and added that the priority targets for the Ukrainian Armed Forces are the airfields of tactical aviation, from which Russia throws KABs at the front line, and the locations of operational tactical missile systems of the Iskander-M type. These are, first of all, priority targets. When we complete our tasks on these targets, then we will also strike Moscow. It has enough range not only on Moscow, but also on certain airfields where they currently have strategic aviation. Russia has no chance of shooting down the Ukrainian Sapsan ballistic missile. Military analyst Andrey Kramarov is sure. We didn't just develop this missile, we tortured it, commented Kramarov. At first, the analyst said that he was limitedly optimistic about whether the Russians would be able to shoot down our Sapsan missile, but then he couldn't resist adding, "I'll say that the Russians will not be able to shoot down this missile in any way, not at all. Ukraine will be able to strike all objects within its reach with the Sapsan missile." This opinion was expressed on air by military observer Denis Popovich on Kyiv 24. It would be very useful to hit these objects with ballistic missiles. This includes the destruction of military facilities, the military-industrial complex, and oil depots. One ballistic missile is enough for one oil depot, especially if it is a cluster munition and it can cover a large area at once, Popovich said. He added that it is difficult to say how many missiles Ukraine will have to hit Russian targets in the relevant zone. After all, everything depends on the scale of their production, but the more of these missiles Ukraine has, the better. How many ballistic missiles did Iran have? 2,000, before its air exchange with Israel began, and we see that this number was not particularly enough for Israel, because there is an interception of air defense systems. In relation to the Russian Federation, air defense systems there are hotbeds. In some places it is concentrated, in others less. In others there is none at all. Therefore, there is hope that this missile will hit those targets that will be in its strike zone. Moreover, from the experience of using ATACMS, we have seen that Russian air defense does not cope with them very well, Popovich explained.
U.S. President Donald Trump's post-NATO summit press conference is underway. According to Associated Press, the president used his opening remarks to praise a massive precision strike on Iran that he ordered. He again suggested that Iran's nuclear program had been obliterated, despite early U.S. intelligence assessments questioning that. "We call it the 12-day war," Trump said of the conflict between Iran and Israel, adding that the U.S. considers the hostilities concluded. He said the agreement by NATO members to increase their defense spending was a monumental win for the United States.
Well, thank you very much. This has been an honor. And as you know, last weekend the United States successfully carried out a massive precision strike on Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities, and it was very, very successful. It was called obliteration. No other military on earth could have done it, and now this incredible exercise of American strength has paved the way for peace with a historic ceasefire agreement late Monday, and we call it the 12-day war. Spoke to a few people. I guess that just sounded like the right name. It was a 12-day war. And we think it's over. I don't think they're going to be going back at each other. I don't think so. Not only have we dealt decisively with the critical threat of Iran's nuclear program, which was what I wanted. I said, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've said that for 15 years, long before I decided to do the political thing. But we've also reasserted the credibility of American deterrence, which is like no other. It was a fairly long trip, but worth it. Tremendous things have been accomplished, as you probably noticed. Listened to a lot of wonderful speeches from the heads of a lot of wonderful countries. Over the past 2 days, I was honored to participate in the NATO leaders meeting and also had extremely good individual discussions with the King and the Queen, Secretary General Rutte. The United States accounts for 2/3 of all NATO defense spending. And since I began pushing for additional commitments in 2017, believe it or not, our allies have increased spending by $700 billion. I said to people, you don't have any money, and a lot of them weren't paying. And so I started the process, and I picked it up as soon as I got back, which is 6 months ago. And following my election last November, almost all have accelerated plans to reach the 2%, 3%, 4%, and then ultimately, very quickly, 5%. And all of this is going to be done very quickly, almost immediately. You probably know this as well as I do. I'm sure they've been talking about it. It's really been a big focus. In a very historic milestone this week, the NATO allies committed to dramatically increase their defense spending to that 5% of GDP, something that no one really thought possible. And they said, you did it, sir, you did it. Well, I don't know if I did it, but I think I did. This will be known as the Hague Defense Commitment, which is pretty good, pretty appropriate. When the allies reach this number, it will add more than $1 trillion a year. Think of that, $1 trillion per year to our common defense, and this is a monument really to victory, but it's a monumental win for the United States because we were carrying much more than our fair share. It was quite unfair, actually. But this is a big win for Europe and for actually Western civilization.
U.S. President Donald Trump claimed a ceasefire between Iran and Israel was, in effect, on Tuesday, after expressing deep frustration with both sides and accusing them of violating the agreement he brokered. According to Associated Press, Israel earlier accused Iran of launching missiles into its airspace after the truce was supposed to take effect. The Iranian military denied firing on Israel, state media reported. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said he held off on tougher strike against Iran after speaking to Trump. Netanyahu said Israel agreed to a bilateral ceasefire with Iran, in coordination with Trump, after the country achieved all of its war goals, including removing the threat of Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. It's unclear what role Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's leader, played in the talks. He said earlier on social media that he would not surrender. Trump said Tuesday that he wasn't seeking regime change in Iran, 2 days after floating the idea himself in a social media post. Damage assessments are still underway. Meanwhile, Trump said he thinks he'll see Volodymyr Zelensky during the NATO summit.